Welcome back to the Fantasy Flavor Podcast, where we spicing up your daily dose of fantasy football content. Hey, what's going on, listeners of the Fantasy Flavor Podcast? My name is Dylan. I'm super excited here. We're going to do a 12-team Superflex 3-round rookie mock draft, a whole mouthful, but I'm pretty excited to be here. So we're just going to kick right off, and every team will kind of introduce themselves, who they are, and then they'll explain their pick, and we'll just kind of go in order here on screen. Should be a great time. Let's get started here with Alex with the 101. Who are you taking?
With the first pick, I'm going to be taking, since it's Superflex, Joe Burrow. I think that's a pretty easy call. Most likely should be the number one pick, unless the Bengals do something crazy. And I mean, he's just more valuable than any other player. Like, the running backs are nice in this draft for sure, but like in Superflex, you have to have quarterbacks. And even if you have too many, you can always trade them for other assets, like, because they're just so much more valuable.
All right, definitely a good reasoning there. We're going to move here to Steve with the 102. What's kind of your thought process here, and who are you taking, man?
Yeah, so no real surprise with the Joe Burrow pick there. I think that's everybody's 101. So for me, I did a little bit of thinking before the draft, and it came mostly down to what I assume most people would agree would be Tua or Jonathan Taylor. Being super flex, I'd imagine most people are going to lean with Tua, but I'm a bit of a gambler. I have a plan I would like to execute for this draft, so I'm going to go ahead and go with Jonathan Taylor. I do think he's the best running back. Now, of course, we are sitting here before the draft has taken place, so a lot of the team placements could change that up. But from a pure talent standpoint, I do like him the best. So I'm going to lock him in here and see if my gamble pays off later.
All right, that seems to be an awesome pick, and I'm going to open up here to the floor. Do you guys tend to, anyone can answer this free-for-all question here, do you guys tend to want to draft quarterbacks early in Superflex, or do you think that running back, such as a stud like Jonathan Taylor, is so valuable that maybe he should go 101?
I think 1.01 in pretty much any Superflex league should be a QB, unless you're absolutely set with 3 young, solid QBs.
Agreed.
And here, I mean, the only reason Taylor is even in consideration is because Tua has some concerns with his injury. If he was perfectly fine, I mean that if he was not injured last year, probably he would be 101. So that's the only reasoning that Taylor is even going before him.
Okay, I really like that argument. I'm a big Tua fan. I hope he can stay healthy because he's a pretty good talent there at quarterback position, potentially even higher than Burrow. We'll see. But let's kick it off here to Sanatan with 103. Who are you
It
going to
is
pick?
Nathan. I am the co-host of Fantasy Flavor Podcast. You can just find me here. And it's pretty easy choice for me. Jonathan Taylor was a difference maker, but once he is gone, I think it's just Tua. As I said earlier, if he was not injured, then he would be 101, and I'm okay to take that risk that he will be fine, and he's a very good talent. So that's why Tua.
I'm liking it, go Bama. So really good pick there. Next we have Chris with the 104. Who are you taking?
Hey guys, my name's Chris, and you can find me on Twitter at ChrisMiles1017. With the 4th pick in the draft, I'm going to be selecting DeAndre Swift. It's clearly these 2 running backs at the top tier running back for me. And because in these rookie drafts, the running backs are going to come in with production early, almost guaranteed, especially when you compare the wide receivers needing the 1 to 2 years of development. I'd rather get that assured value from the running backs instead of taking a Judy or a Lamb here.
I definitely like Swift. I think he's my second running back behind Taylor. Does anyone here have Swift as a top back in this RB class?
I do, but it's really, really close. But just based off those first 4 picks, and any Superflex rookie draft, those should be the top 4 picks. It could be going any order, and I'd be fine with it. But those 4 picks are pretty much given.
All right, definitely.
Okay, here's sorry to interrupt, but here's a comment. Like right now we are saying that those should be the 4 top ones. But what if Cam Akers goes to say Kansas? What do you say then?
KC. Well, Akers is
Yeah.
kind of already in that tier there for me, but that definitely could push him up. Landing spots matter, but what matter
Yeah,
more to me is
exactly.
draft capital. You know, if any of these guys get taken in the first round, that's going to matter a lot to me, especially with how few teams really need a running back in the first round. I'm kind of excited to see how the draft's going to shake out in that regard.
Yeah, I completely agree. If we had a like J.K. Dobbins go in the first round to the Bucks, and then Akers go in the third round to KC, I might still have Dobbins over Akers just due to draft capital.
Yeah, draft capital is really important there for running backs. But now we have Jared or JKD here on the clock with pick 105. Who are you first of all, and who are you going to take?
Hi, I'm Jared. I don't really have anything to promote. I'm still kind of new to Dynasty Fantasy Football. So this pick right here came down to two people for me between CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy. Seeing as DeAndre Swift just got taken. So I just think that CeeDee Lamb's game is a lot more NFL ready in terms of he's going to slot into wherever he goes, I feel like, and be an immediate high floor type prospect. So I'm going to be taking him.
All right, awesome. Now we have Caveman on the clock here with pick 106. Who are you, and who are you going to take?
Hey guys, my name's Caveman. I'm also known as Alex as well. I am also kind of new to Dynasty here, but I'm here to learn, here to have fun with these guys. Basically, what I'm looking for at this pick, it honestly depends on what your team actually needs. And because it's Superflex, I think quarterbacks are valued very greatly, which makes me want to go out on a limb here and actually pick Justin Herbert.
Whoa!
Yeah.
That kind of shocked me.
Little
Are you
bit.
higher on Herbert, or is it more
A
just a
little bit.
positional thing?
I kind of see Herbert. He's one of those mobile QBs, and people I think can get excited about him. He does have some work, but honestly, I think depending on landing spot, he could be up there with Tua and Joe Burrow in this draft. Kind of risk. It's high risk, high reward in my case.
Not a risk at all. I am not at all surprised. I think that's a great pick. And when I participated in a few mock-ups in DLF, and Herbert was going 104 before Swift. So
Yeah, I
I'm not
would've
at all
took him more.
surprised.
Yeah, I think teams will take a chance on him. I've seen plenty of them. Being a Husky
Going
fan,
top
and
5 anyways,
he's a
top
real
5 or
deal.
top 10 in NFL draft. So
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely quarterbacks are super valuable here. I've kind of liking every pick so far. Herbert shocked me a little bit. I guess I'm lower on him, but I definitely see the value in how important quarterbacks are. But since I'm on the clock here with pick 107, I'm stuck between a few players. Jerry Jeudy, I think, would have the highest player grade for me, but he's a wide receiver. I definitely do see him going in the first round, though. I'd be really shocked if he didn't. We also have two running backs I like. We have J.K. Dobbins and Cam Akers. So this pick was kind of hard for me because I think I'm going to lean running back here because it's kind of the more valuable position. There's less running backs here since it's such a deep wide receiver class. So I'm actually going to take my guy Cam Akers. Mr. Buck fan Justin didn't think Akers would slide to 107, so I think he's going to be ecstatic about this pick here. But for me, I think Cam Akers is going to be such a steal because, one, he's good at pass protection, which is probably, people don't value that as much, but I think it's really important. He can catch the ball. The production was there from like a dominator point, but the offensive line was one of the worst, if not the worst in the country. So this guy was a 5-star recruit coming out. He played quarterback in high school, one of the most dominant high school seasons ever when he was playing quarterback. So he's also a cerebral, really smart player. Cam Akers, I think, could end up being the best running back in this class and potentially has the highest ceiling out of them all with a complete game. So, what do we kind of think about Akers versus Dobbins? Are we team Akers or are we team Dobbins?
Team Akers for me.
Akers, yeah, me too.
Yeah, 100% team makers for me also.
Yeah, team Akers.
It's close. I still think that name that should be thrown into that group of a trio should be Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I don't care about his 40 times. He's
You
still
come up with someone else.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, I like Akers.
I think it's a lot more.
Than those guys.
I think it's a lot more even than people think because I think it's going to become landing spot for those for sure because you can see both of those either landing in Kansas City or one of those later picks in a round. especially in round 2, round 3.
Yeah, I think that's really well said, Chef Joe. And because honestly, we kind of saw Gurley take up Atlanta, which is like a fantastic running back spot, and then Gurley had to ruin that. I mean, the Ram spot kind of opened up here, so I have a question for y'all. What's kind of the best running back landing spot? Is it Kansas City, or is it a team like Tampa Bay who may give their running back more touches, or is it another team I'm not even thinking about?
I think it depending on running back. It would be basically depending on who it is. Like, say a first round pick, Tampa Bay changes their plan now because they got Tom Brady, right? And they take DeAndre Swift, who I think would be a better fit than Jonathan Taylor for their system. And I would say I would move DeAndre Swift probably up to the top running back at that point, just because I think he's going to get a lot of pass catching, plus running the ball, plus touchdown opportunity, and then that would probably push him over Jonathan Taylor for me. Depending on where there's a few places Jonathan Taylor could go, like Kansas City, of course, but I just don't think that's likely.
Okay, definitely well said there. I appreciate the analysis. That was really good analysis there. Let's move on here, though, to Will with pick 108. You're on the clock. Who are you, first of all, and who are you going to take here?
Hey, guys. Will Monroe from the Trust Your Board podcast that my comrade Steve didn't plug there at the 102. Thanks a lot, Steve.
Shots fired. Thanks, Will. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and I was actually thrilled to hear that pick because I am pretty high on Dobbins. I unfortunately had to watch him tear up my Penn State Nittany Lions for a few years in a row, but just watching him the last couple of years, he's put on a lot of weight, and I think he is going to be able to be pretty good in the pass catching as well. I worry about his pass protection a little bit because I didn't really have him, back there blocking too much. But obviously, all these running backs are landing spot dependent. I personally am not in any Superflex leagues myself. I've done some mocks, but just from regular leagues, not knowing the landing spot right now, I have Dobbins right there with Taylor and Swift, and I think landing spot's going to be the big one for me. I do, know that Akers didn't have much around him, and that really hurt him as well. But I've got Dobbins ahead here, and it's a pretty easy pick for me. I was thrilled to see him available at the 108.
All right, awesome. As Will puts in that pick there for J.K. Dobbins, we kind of have Chef Joe here up next. First of all, who are you, and who are you going to take here?
Oh, okay. Chef. You can follow me on Twitter on Soto, SOTO _FFootball. I'm excited about this pick at 109. I'd like to see my wide receiver 2 in this draft. I'm going to go ahead and pick Judy. Pretty simple pick here. I'm like you said, Superflex is drop off a lot of talent that you're going to be surprised with. And I think we get closer to drafts, a lot of these quarterbacks are going to move up. I don't want to throw no names, but we got that young man named Hurts in the next round that could start pushing up later on. So I'm gonna go with Judy. One of the best, I think, ready wide receivers in this class and route. So he could just fit in a lot of offense. A couple teams that I could see him going to, maybe San Francisco now, which is a hot one. I think they could get Judy to help their offense take over that Emmanuel Sanders spot. The Jets, which I'm not too excited, but I can see they're trying to rebuild that offense. And those are 2 top teams I can see going in the first round. So he's going to have that draft capital too, which you want in your receiver. That's my.
All right, thank you so much there, Chef. We appreciate it there. I have a question for you all. I like opening it up here. Who's higher ranked for you guys? Is it Jerry Jeudy or is it CeeDee Lamb, or maybe is it someone else I didn't mention?
Judy.
Judy?
Judy. I got Lamb.
I have Lamb.
I still got Lamb.
I'll take one.
Lamb has potential, but Lamb, I think he's going to bust. Just from my scouting, just from everything I've said, I think he's going to bust. I think Judy will be that consistent guy.
I think Judy has the higher. Or I think Lamb definitely has the bust potential, whereas Judy's as safe as he gets for receiver.
Yeah, I agree
to
that
me-
Judy is safe, but Lamb has the higher ceiling, and that's why I pick Lamb.
Yeah, what concerns me about Judy, honestly, is One, his production really fell off, especially just not just like the raw numbers. Like the raw numbers don't mean much to me. It's kind of the percentile kind of stuff, like dominator rating and market share of yards. He really fell off there. Devonta Smith was probably their best wide receiver last year, honestly. So it's kind of like, what's up there? Is Devonta Smith that transcendent? Or maybe did Judy honestly have a down year? And then he had problems with drops. He has a really skinny frame. I think the route running sensational, best route runner in this class, but I wonder if he's going to be big enough to withstand the NFL. That's kind of all I
what
have to
you
say.
said right there really calls it for me. Him being the best route runner, he's going to be the most able to create the separation, and that's really what you need to, transfer to the NFL game.
All right, really well said there,
100%
Chris.
agree.
I like the take there, but now we have Matt with the 1010 here. First of all, who are you and who are you going to take?
I'm Matt, aka Philly fan, diehard Eagles fan, obviously. No socials to plug or anything. My thinking is I got to take the best RB available since it's a pretty deep receiver class, which is obviously going to be the LSU East, Edwards-Helaire. Yeah, pretty simple choice.
Now, with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, is he in that tier for you with the Akers and the Dobbins and the Taylors and the Swifts, or how do your running backs tiers kind of break down for you, Matt?
Good question. I'd say Swift and Taylor, no matter where they end up, they're going to shine no matter where they end up. The next three that you listed, Dobbins, Akers, and who I just selected, I'd say they're in that mix of landing spot, but I think in the right spot, any of those three will shine. And I'm a big, I was following LSU closely, so he's probably the guy that I saw the most of this year.
Okay, definitely really well said there. He's been kind of comp to MJD. I've heard Mark Ingram there. So, if he has the kind of ceiling there, he could be a great value for what was a third place team here, hypothetically, in this mock draft. But next we have my good friend Justin on the clock, pick 111. Who are you and who are we taking?
So my name's Justin. You can find me on Twitter at BucFanJKE. My pick right here, I'm looking at wide receivers. The running backs have kind of been depleted at this point. And I'm just gonna say, like, at 111, I just lost in the championship, and we still got guys like Rager out here. I'm taking Rager. Him and Jefferson are close for me, but I lean Rager as a 111 team because I would be probably looking for more upside. I think Jefferson probably has a safer floor year one, but the Rager upside is where I'm going here.
First of all, hypothetically here, just kind of side comment, how does it feel losing to Trenton? Of all people, Trenton.
I mean, he didn't make the playoffs in our league last year, so
I would kill myself if I lost to Trenton.
Yeah, not a good sign there. But let's move on here to Trenton with pick 112. Who are you and who are you taking?
I am Trenton. I'm new here.
Are you new here? Are you new here?
But
He's sleepy here, not new.
I'm going with the first surprise of the draft. As the team at 112, the team that just won the championship, what you want is a guy that will come in and help you keep contending right away. So with that being said, I look at a running back. There's one running back that I think is going to come in, that's left on the board, that will come in right away and can put up some nice numbers. And it'll be touchdown numbers. That's A.J. Dillon.
Ooh, spicy.
Put up a lot of touchdowns. I feel like he's going to come into the league as that, 2016 version of the Patriots' LeGarrette Blount. And I think he comes in and he just pounds the rock. He's going to get a ton of goal line touches and get touchdowns from that.
I like it.
That's probably the spiciest pick I've seen so far in this mock draft. I'm not really big on Dillon. I think he that's crazy. First of all, I'm a big Boston College fan, so it's weird for me to be like admitting that. I'm rooting for the player, but I just think he plays a little weaker when you consider the fact that he is like 240 pounds. He should be like mowing down linebackers, and he kind of plays like he's 215. So I don't know. I mean, definitely could be a value, but for me, it's just kind of like, eh.
I'm not surprised. Trenton likes big backs and he cannot lie. So he picked Dillon. I'm not surprised at all.
I mean, are you also picking Dillon because he's partially named after your host here, Dillon?
Oh, dang. You should have
Thanks.
thought about it.
All right, let's get serious here. Let's move on here to the second round. I'm gonna give Alex here a chance to introduce himself because he forgot to, which is fine, during his first pick. And then can you let us know who you're picking here?
I'm Alex. I'm still pretty new to Dynasty myself. This is my second year going into it. I don't really have any Twitter handles to like follow or anything like that, but I'm actually like picking at 112 and 2-1 in my Dynasty this year, and honestly, I gotta say I'm loving what's on the board here, like just in general, because I'll have both of these picks and like back to back, it'll be amazing. But with this pick, it comes down to two players for me. Do I go with the safer player in Justin Jefferson, or do I go with the higher upside and potential like superstar in Denzel Mims with the 4.38 40 speed, 6'4", you know? So I think I'm leaning toward Mims right now. So this will come down to draft capital too, though, to some degree. Like once we see where NFL teams stand with these players too, also, of course. So, but I'm gonna go ahead and hit Mims for now.
All right, well said there. I appreciate your insight there, Alex. Let's move on here to Steve. I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself as well. You got to get called out there by your podcast co-host, and then just tell us who you're picking.
Yeah, so name's Stephen Wright, co-host of the Trust Your Board podcast with Mr. Will there at the 108. You can follow us on Twitter at Trust Your Board. So on my earlier pick, I grabbed Jonathan Taylor and I teased that I had a plan. It's probably going to get some criticism because it's a very gambly plan, and it's probably a very stupid plan because there's really no rumors surrounding what I'm about to do, but I'll explain my process and then I'll make the pick. So Dwayne Haskins did not really blow up or do anything real special last year. We have a new regime headed by Ron Rivera there coming into Washington with no loyalty to this quarterback. And we see Washington scouting Tua, or so we've heard anyway. They've been scouting him plenty. I don't think they draft Tua. I do think they stick with Chase Young, but I do think they add a quarterback, and I think they add Jalen Hurts. And that is going to be because of Ron Rivera's history with a dual threat quarterback, basically. He's going to, I mean, he's not Cam, but he's going to provide legs. He's got a great arm on him. And I think it makes a lot of sense. You could also sit him for a year if you really wanted to quote unquote, give Haskins his chance, throw him in there for half a season or something. I really don't think Haskins is going to turn into anything. And then you can turn to Jalen. So it's probably a little bit early. I mean, with a super flex, I highly doubt he would have got back to me. Again, there's no rumors of him going to Washington. So again, very gambly and stupid, but I'm going to do it because I said I was going to execute on this plan, and I will hold true to my word. Grab Jalen Hurts.
Personally, that shocks me a little bit. I think Jordan Love, who's another quarterback here still on the board, is probably going to get first round and has more of the keys to the starting job there. Meanwhile, a guy like Jalen Hurts, is he just going to be like a backup? You know, we saw Will Grier go kind of like the third round, and he wasn't that good. I mean, he really wasn't given much of a chance there either. I mean, Kyle Allen was starting over him there. So definitely a risky pick there, but if Jalen Hurts gets a chance to start, he reminds me kind of like Tyrod Taylor. He could run, he could pass. I think his arm's a little weaker than Tyrod Taylor, but he has the charisma and kind of like the great leadership and the intangibles. So Jalen Hurts, what do we think about that pick?
I mean, I just want to say right away, I was absolutely eyeing him at 2.4. If he didn't get, he was absolutely going to me.
That makes me feel a lot better. Thank you.
I agree with actually Dylan. I would have taken Love over Hurts.
I like the quarterback pick. I just don't like Hurts. He is currently like my 6th rated quarterback in the class, and I don't think he pans out as well as people think he will. And I hope he does, but I don't think he will.
I like the pick. Like I said earlier, I said he's gonna get picked probably in his early second, and I think it might move up after draft. I think he's my QB3 because I think he has the highest ceiling out of the rest of the quarterbacks. So I would rather take a gamble on that.
Yeah, maybe call me a Ravens fan, but he's my QB3. I see a little, mini Lamar there, maybe. He has, pretty good throwing mechanics, and his running ability is definitely good. I'd say better than Kyler was last year. So I think that he could definitely come in, and if he gets a chance, he could have a very high fantasy upside with that rushing ability.
So Dylan, I'll throw a question back at you. You had mentioned him being similar to Tyrod. Do you think there's an opportunity for the Chargers to take him, sit him for a year behind Tyrod, and learn from Tyrod?
See, the problem with that for me is honestly, well, it sounds kind of cool because he's exactly like Tyrod in my opinion. It's a few little different things, but I could see that kind of the journeys being similar. To answer your question though, is the Chargers are taking a quarterback in the first round. It's either going to be Tua or Herbert. Maybe Jordan Love is a shocker. I do not see them drafting Jalen Hurts because for every move, they're not interested in Cam. They're not interested in trading for Dalton. They're not interested in any other free agent like Jameis Winston, right? They're going quarterback the first round. That's what all of that tells me. So I don't think they're grabbing Jalen Hurts in the second round. But if they do, that'd be really interesting because there's a lot of weapons there in LA.
Yeah,
One thing-
fair.
Yeah, I
The
think
one
for the
thing that irks me
quarterbacks,
about-
the pick in the draft will be telling a lot. If suppose Jake Fromm is picked before both Hurts and Love, then probably he will rise over all of these quarterbacks in the draft, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I know my Patriots are just going to want to make me cry and take Jake Fromm in the first round. So,
But piggybacking off of that, it's all about that draft capital. And I don't think Hurts gets selected in the first 2 days of the draft. He's going to be at highest in the fourth round. So that draft capital, he'll be coming in behind another quarterback. I don't even know if he'll get the chance to succeed.
definitely well said there, but I think we should move on there. Thank you, Steve, for the shocking pick. We have Sanatan here with the 203. Who are you taking?
I was hoping Mims fell to me, but damn you, Alex. So I'll go ahead and take the other guy I was thinking of, and that's Zach Moss.
What do you see in
He's
Zach
the highest
Moss?
graded. He's the highest graded running back per PFF, and he's also do it all back. He can catch, he can run, and he's also a good pass blocker. So I think he's very good, and people have compared him to Kareem Hunt. So I mean, I haven't researched a lot, but these all point to a good running back for me.
All right, definitely stocking up there on the running back after taking Tua. Next, we have Chris here with the 204. Who are you taking?
Man, I was not prepared to have Justin Jefferson and T. Higgins sitting looking me in the face right here at 2.04. I thought they'd both be long gone. Choosing between them, I'm going to have to take a page out of my boy Samuel Wallace's book and go with T. Higgins. He was an absolute monster for Clemson with Trevor Lawrence. And I think with his big body, contested catch ability, and able to run the whole route tree like he can, he'll be able to produce well in the NFL level no matter what team he goes to.
Yeah, definitely shout out there to Samuel Wallace. Good friend of mine. I've had him here, interviewed him here on the Fantasy Flavor podcast, alluding to one of his articles there for RotoViz. Kind of shocking. I really like Justin Jefferson personally, but T. Higgins, if you believe in your guy, he had that first round buzz there to Buffalo before the combine happened, and then before the bad pro day, and then Buffalo kind of traded for Diggs. And there was kind of rumors that Buffalo thought he had kind of a bad pro day. So I think there's some risk there with T. Higgins, but I respect it because he was definitely kind of one of those people that's been higher graded earlier on, if that makes sense. So next here we have Jared here with the 205. Who are you thinking? Who are you going to take, man?
So my plan originally was to try and take Jalen Hurts here, and my backup plan had been Zach Moss. And seeing as both of those guys are gone now, my plan is to, seeing as he's fallen all this way, I don't normally like taking wide receivers in both of the first two rounds, but I just see Justin Jefferson as a super safe pick. So I think it's really hard to pass up on him, even if I've already taken a wide receiver in the first round. So that's what I'll be picking.
I don't mind taking two wide receivers and kind of there because I think one, Justin Jefferson's a great value. I could see him kind of going in that late first, so I think you have value there. And then of course wide receivers are safer than running backs in the fact that they maintain value kind of longer. Like if a wide receiver flops in their first year, like N'Keal Harry did, for example, he still has a fair amount of value. It's not like the 101, 102 kind of price that we saw day one, but you know what I mean? They retain value longer. And if you're picking at 105 and 205, you're probably more of a rebuilding team there, to be honest, or struggling. So you just need to take the best player available. What do we kind of think about the stacking of wide receivers there, guys? Do we mind that?
I mean, I completely agree with what you were saying. I was just thinking the same thing. Picking 105, you got to get those receivers to hold the value longer, and you can get those running backs next year maybe to fill those holes.
I mean, with me, I would have at 105 taken Cam Akers personally because I saw the depth at the running back position. It drops off. I feel like after Dobbins, honestly, I think Edwards-Helaire is no more than a James White. So I probably would have went Akers and then drafted the best available wide receiver in the second round. Which Justin Jefferson's a great value though in the middle of the second round for sure.
Yeah, I mean, CD Lamb's my number one wide receiver though. If you're at the 105, in my opinion, just take the best player. And like if you're not in the playoffs, that means you probably, unless it's like an injury riddled like kind of year out there for your fantasy team, just take the best player. You know what I mean? Like rookie picks have such a high chance of busting. I feel like you just have to keep it safe because there's such an unknown. And CD Lamb kind of has like all the statistical boxes checked to be a really good fantasy wide receiver for years to come. So that's just kind of my thoughts there. But I think we should move on here to Caveman. Who are you kind of thinking here for 206?
Man, there's a good value here in the middle of the second round. I'm eyeballing Henry Ruggs. Chenault's still on the board. If you're still looking for a QB, Love is here mid-second round. I dare not say I would take 2 QBs in this round, and I won't. I'm actually probably going to pick Henry Ruggs at this pick right here. I think middle second, he's a speedy wide receiver. I think he'll make a good impact depending on draft capital and where he lands.
Yeah, speaking of draft capital, I heard from Daniel Jeremiah that he expects Henry Ruggs to be the first wide receiver taken in the 2020 NFL draft. I disagree. I think Judy and Lamb are better prospects, but if he does get that draft capital, that could be like a top 10 pick. I mean, that's kind of a steal here in the second round, honestly, but I'm going to kind of talk about my pick here, and then we'll kind of discuss both those picks here. And for me, I'm held on the clock here at 207. I'm kind of shocked this guy fell because we saw Herbert go at 106. And I think, you know, I'm a little lower on Love. I think he has super high upside here. He literally has upside of like a top 5 quarterback in the league, top 3 even. He has such ridiculous arm talent. He was so good. Not this previous season, but the season before. I believe that was either a sophomore or, you know, his second year there playing in Utah State. He was just really, really phenomenal. And then this year he just fell off. But Jordan Love, for me, it's kind of a no-brainer because quarterbacks are just so valuable. And whether we like Jordan Love or not, he's going to get the first-round draft capital. The NFL loves this guy. And he can run. He's physical. He's big. He's kind of like a built, even like bigger than like Carson Wentz. I think this might be the steal of the draft. Not to toot my own horn here, but especially when you see Herbert go at 106, I think Jordan Love at 207 is just incredible value. What do you guys kind of think about these last 2 picks?
Yeah, I do think that Love is a good value there, especially in Superflex. I think he should be going, you know, the first half of the second most of the time, if not the end of the first, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. He's gonna have that draft capital into the first or the first round in real NFL draft, so you're gonna get good value with that.
Pun intended. I love both picks. But yeah, Ruggs, I was surprised he fell this far. He's going to have first round draft capital at a minimum, and who will get a lot of opportunity with that capital. And then Love is my 4th ranked quarterback in the draft. He's looks really good, and I think that he comes in and he might not start right away, but he should start by year 2.
No, I have a question here. Sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt. But yeah, usually I see that sometimes these field stretchers are being drafted early in NFL, but that does not mean that they will be as valuable in fantasy because these teams need those speedy guys so that the defense can give them holes for the running backs to run around, or the tight end and possession receivers to work in the middle of the field. For example, this who's Ross from Bengals. He was I think 8th or 9th pick in that draft. But yeah, he was not great for fantasy. Maybe Ruggs changes that, but I just wanted to say that for speedy receivers, the draft capital does not matter that much.
Ross did have injury concerns too, though. That's another issue, though.
Yeah, but on that Ruggs comment, I think that comparison is not the greatest because I think I've watched film on Ruggs. He's a better contested catch, and He has good separation. He knows how to make separation. It's kind of a different receiver. That's how I see it. It's a little bit different from that comparison.
My two comparisons for him that I have are Deshaun Jackson and Tyreek Hill. He's that dominant pass catcher, that like speed guy. He should come in, and I think he could be that dominant number one option on an offense.
Yeah, I can see that comparison with D-Jack for sure.
Yeah, but
D-Jacks I understand, but this Hill is very thick, man. He's a different kind of animal. He's just not a speedy guy.
Yeah, my
That's
thing
the same with
is,
Ruggs.
is no
Okay.
one worried though about the fact that he wasn't even second on the team in targets behind Judy? Devontae Smith was actually second in targets behind Judy this year, and like if he can't dominate at the college level, I know he has Judy there. That's fine, but he had Devontae Smith also over him. Like I'm personally probably staying away unless he falls late second round, because then there's just then I guess you have to take a shot at it. But I think honestly an NFL team's probably going to make a mistake and draft him in the first round, and then people are going to jump on that draft capital, and it's going to push him up the boards to the first round. But I don't think he's actually worth that pick.
I think that what you said, being behind Judy and on the depth chart, is what hurt him more than anything. It's because when you have a speedy guy who is not your number one wide receiver, he is going to be that guy that runs deep and gets the defenses to stay honest. If you have a speedy guy who is your number one wide receiver, he's going to be going deep, and he still will be doing those underneath routes and getting open, getting those targets. So it depends on who picks him. If he goes to an offense where he can be that number one option, then he's going to be really, really good. But if he's not going to be that number one option, I think he could be that deep threat guy, like you were saying earlier.
100% agree. I think same thing happened with that guy in on Redskins. I forget the name. He became the number one guy.
Terry McLaurin.
He was a speedy guy too, but suddenly he got the whole targets to himself, and then he shined.
Okay.
Can happen.
Okay. I think we should move on here. Oh, that was a lot of Henry Ruggs talk there. Definitely, in my opinion, the most polarizing prospect though in this draft class. So I definitely think that's a good prospect to kind of break down there. Thank you, everybody. But let's move on here to poor Will. Probably has been waiting forever to make this pick. You're on the clock, man. Who are you gonna take?
Cool. So I was down to a couple people there. Obviously, Ruggs fell as far as looking at him, but I was surprised that Love fell as well. So you scooping him right there. I was just hoping you may let him fall one more spot. And then one thing too, the comment you made to spark that whole conversation. Who was the draft analyst that you said?
Daniel Jeremiah.
First thinking? Yeah, I feel like I could see that though, just because of the NFL loving speed. We see it with guys like Hollywood Brown recently. I can think back to, I think Darius Hayward-Bay was the top receiver taken in his draft. Whether it's just a team falling in love with the speed or wanting it to open it up over the top for the rest of their team, I could realistically see that happening, even though you have a guy like Judy, a guy like Lamb that probably is going to be better fantasy-wise and overall long-term. I could definitely see Ruggs going as the first receiver off the board. But I would love to see him fall into the mid-teens and see if the Eagles can move up and get him, because boy, could they use something like that. But getting back to the pick here, I'm down to two people right now, and at this point, I'm looking. Do I want upside or do I want safety? And this late in the second round, I'm usually looking for upside, so I'm going to go with a guy like Laviska Shenault. I think obviously there's a few red flags with him, and we'll see what he actually pans out to be. But with a guy that's 6'2", 220 frame, I think if he was able to do everything at the combine, I think he's injured going into it, and he kind of forced his way through it. I could see him being that kind of running back in a receiver's body, Debo Samuel-esque, right? Debo killed it this year, so it's hard to compare anybody to him. But I could see Laviska really stepping up if he gets drafted into the right situation. So for me, it's going to be Laviska here. I was looking at a guy like Brian Edwards from South Carolina. I think he's got a good safe floor, and it's going to just depend on where he gets drafted.
Okay, awesome. Next here we have Chef, aka Soto, aka Joe, aka a lot of names here for you, Chef. But who are you kind of thinking here for the 210 or 29? Excuse me.
All right. So for the 2-9, I'm gonna keep it with the receiver, stack his receivers. So going along with that, this is the perfect draft to go receivers. If you need a receiver for this draft, you can rebuild your whole team in about 3 rounds. All right, and I'm gonna go on and get Michael Pittman. It's gonna be my pick. Reason behind it, he's more my type of receiver I try to look for. 6'4", 220, 223. Big wingspan. His combine, he killed the combine for his size. He ran a 4.52, and then what I really liked about it was his shuttle speed. I think he ran like under 7 seconds, one of the best in the combine. So you got a big dude that's pretty agile, that's gonna help out a lot of red zone catches and touchdowns for whatever quarterback he goes to.
All right, really well said there. Thank you. I appreciate it here. Next up, we're going to have Matt here on the clock here with the 210. Who are you going to take?
I gotta be honest, I'm tilting hard right now. Both those guys, I was like, damn, I thought one of them would make it to me. So thanks a lot for that. I will have to take, god damn it, the tough. I was trying to stay prepared, but those are the guys I was. You know what? I guess I'll go Edwards here. To me, he just seems like I was hoping to get a receiver I felt a little better about, but he seems like the guy that'll probably give me be the safest bet for me at this point.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much here. Let's get the second round finished up here, and then we'll get into some more analysis. So, Buck, Justin, you're on the clock here with the 211. Who are you going to take?
Well, I was between Edwards and Keyshawn Vaughn, and he made that decision pretty easy for me. I really love Edwards, but Keyshawn Vaughn at the late second at 211, that feels really good.
Sheesh, yeah, I like Vaughn a lot there. He could be one of those sleeper backs that lands in one of those good spots. So, Trenton, you're on the clock here with 212. I have a feeling who you're going to take here. I wonder if you're going to take him. Let's see what you do. Oh, Trenton, your mic's muted, bud.
Was muted. Dang, I was just about to do this whole spiel. Okay, we're back. All right. At this point, you're looking for that upside guy, and there's one guy in this draft that I think has sky high upside. Going into the combine, I thought he was a first round talent player, a late first round talent wide receiver, but his only issue was speed. He proved everybody wrong at the combine, and I think he comes into the league, gets a mid second round pick, and comes in and dominates. That is Notre Dame.
And just for everyone here, who did you compare Chase Claypool to?
Okay, so
Go
I
ahead.
didn't
Go ahead.
compare.
I just want a name.
I
for
didn't
him. I
compare.
just
Say
want
it,
a
say
name.
it.
I just want a name.
I didn't make the comparison. It was all over the place. People were comparing him to Calvin Johnson.
Oh my god.
I don't think he's not quite that guy. Sure, he has the height, speed of that. He's not that guy, but I think that he comes in and he could have a similar type of impact on the game. He's not going to be he's not going to put up that many. I can't even speak. He's not going to have huge numbers, but he'll have a huge impact just on the way the defenses have to prepare for him.
Told you guys, he likes big backs.
He likes his Notre Dame guys too.
And he likes huge guys. That's what he likes.
His players
Just
have
you
to
wait
be,
until my next pick.
Oh god, his players have to be 240 pounds plus when they end up on his team. So we're gonna kick it off here with the third round. Thank you guys so much for sticking with us here so far. We appreciate it here. We'll try to pick up the pace here for the third round. We have Alex here on the clock here. Who are you gonna take here at the 301?
So I had to rearrange everything here because the 3 players I wanted went right in a row: Chenault, Pittman, and Edwards. Was good with any of those. But right now I think I'm gonna go with Brandon Ayuk out of Louisville. Oh, not Louisville. I'm sorry, Arizona State. My bad. And then the reason I'm going with him is I'm thinking he's gonna get the draft capital. He'll be in the top 3 rounds, and at this point, I'm just shooting for upside more than anything, and I'm hoping I hit something here. My 3 main guys though were Chenault, Pittman, and Edwards when I saw him falling. So I might have been trying to trade up if I had seen 2 of them gone and then gone from there. But since we don't have trades in here, you know.
All right, really well said there. Thank you so much, Alex. We have Steve here on the clock with a 302. Who are you taking?
Yeah, so in the interest of time, we'll make this short and sweet. I'm going to go ahead and grab Tyler Johnson. Big, physical, strong, imposing kind of guy. I equate him to like an A.J. Brown type player. So grabbing him in the 3rd round and strike a nice balance with my team, a running back, a quarterback, and a wide receiver. I can't pass him up.
Awesome. We have Sanatan here on the clock. Who are you going to take?
Second time Alex just took away the guy I was going to take. So I'm going to go ahead and take Benjamin. And I'm hoping this is a full PPR draft. So I think he has good upside.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. We have Chris here on the clock. Who are we thinking about taking here?
Oh man, I am just absolutely floored with the Benjamin snipe right there. Oh, I just put out a tweet about him earlier. I can't believe he's a 3rd round pick right now. But anyway, I guess I'm going to go with another big body wide receiver here in Antonio Gandy-Golden. I think at this point in the draft, he definitely has the upside to be a good producer in the NFL as a wide receiver 2, like deep threat type guy. He's just a huge receiver with great hands, tracks the ball very well, and is very good at those 50-50 contested catches.
All right, awesome. Now we have Jared here on the clock, 305. Who's the pick?
All right, I'll keep it short and sweet. I'm looking to go running back, and I think that Anthony McFarland is the best running back left on the board at this point. So I'm going to be taking him.
Awesome. Definitely a sleeper there out of Maryland. They've been pretty good recently with guys like DJ Moore there on the offensive side of the ball. Stephon Diggs, another name. So, Caveman, you're on the clock. Who are we going to take?
Right now, I think I'm going to have to go with Donovan Peoples-Jones here.
All right, thank you so much for that pick here. Personally, I'm shocked here because we had to kind of change around how this was formatted. That way we could have tight ends be drafted, and nobody wants these tight ends. It is a pretty weak class here, to be honest, but kind of shocking here in the 3rd round. You could get a tight end selected day 2, but I tricked you guys there. That's not going to be my pick, though. That shocked me a little bit here, but I think my pick here is my sleeper, my guy out of Memphis, Antonio Gibson. Running back, wide receiver, who cares, man? This guy has the upside of like a David Johnson. I mean, I believe he had like around 100 touches and like 1,100 yards. Think about that. He's ridiculous. Just like ridiculously explosive. Ran a 4.39. He's big, 230 plus pounds, right? He's just a freak athletically, and he's explosive, and I think that's kind of a late dart throw there. I never got a wide receiver here, but I think for a 3rd round pick, Gibson's upside is just maybe the best in this round. So
let him fall a few picks further. Come on.
Yeah, I wanted him to.
Sorry to snipe you all like that, but we're gonna have Will here on the clock. Who are you gonna take, Will?
Thought I revealed my hand to everybody early on, but I guess no one was looking at for my guy. Probably going to be one of the smallest guys drafted in the draft here this year, but one of my alma mater here, KJ Hamler, is obviously a very small dude. I think his upside is this, Deshaun Jackson, and obviously that's if he reaches his full potential. But just watching him, he's super explosive, and he's just one of those guys that's just a gamer. You can see the intensity. So I think it's worth a nice upside shot here. So I'm going to take KJ Hamler.
All right, awesome. We have Chef now here on the clock. Do you have any names you're kind of thinking about?
Yeah, so those 2 actually got sniped tough. So at this point in the draft, I'm looking for more ceiling than anything. It's gonna be a dart throw maybe. So I'm gonna go with Barrington Evans. I did a write up on him before, and he's from Appalachian State, smaller school, but he ran like almost like a Justice Hill comparison. He could catch, he could run. He did punt return. So I think at this point I'll go for him for the ceiling.
All right, awesome. I mean, that was going to be my running back if I didn't take Gibson. So I respect the pick a lot. Once you make that pick, now we're going to kick it off here to Matt. And Matt, who are you thinking about taking here?
You know, my philosophy with tight ends is usually not to touch them before their second or third year. But screw it, just to shake things up. I'm going to take the first one of the draft. Why not? I'm going Hopkins. My other thought was, well, actually, no, maybe I'll discuss after. But yeah, I'm going Hopkins this round.
Okay, a little shocking, not my tight end one, but definitely I think he's kind of well-rounded there as a player. So, you know, if you kind of like the versatility there with kind of some receiving upside, Hopkins could be that guy. So, Buck, you're on the clock here. Justin, who are you going to take here, the 311?
So I've actually got 3 players that I absolutely love at this spot. One's a running back, one's a tight end, one's a wide receiver. So I'm in kind of a pickle here. But the guy I have ranked highest overall is Josh Kelly here. So that's what I'm going to go with. My other guy I was looking at was Albert O or potentially Lynn Bowden.
Okay, awesome. And last pick here, certainly least, Trenton. 312. Who are you going to take?
Going with
You
my
unmute
top
again.
tight end in the class.
And that
I'm going
is-
to go
Cole
with
Kmet.
Cole Kmet. Yep, sticking with Notre Dame again. And another big body.
Oh my gosh, we're done. Wow, that was awesome. Thank you guys so much. Everyone here for participating. Honestly, just crazy draft there. I mean, Trent kind of had this theme of 240 plus pound players. It was a wild draft though. So so what I want anyone listening on YouTube, listening on a podcast platform such as Apple or watching on YouTube, comment down below who you think had the best draft. I'm really interested to see who you think. And before we conclude here, I just want to open up here to everybody. Anybody here can answer this question, and we can take our time here if we want. How are we kind of tackling this draft? Are we trading up? Are we trading down? Are we targeting certain positions because there's less depth at this position? You know what I mean? How are we attacking the 2020 draft? Any tips for any listeners or viewers?
I just want all the picks between 1 and 2.12, honestly. Like, just give me any of them.
Yeah. If I have a late first and I'm like 108, like if I was at 108, 109, and you need a receiver, I think you can move back and pick up some more picks for later rounds and still get a good receiver in this draft.
Me, anything later than 108. So top 8 is, just cemented for me. Those 4 running backs, top 2 receivers, and Tua and who's the top
Joe Burrow.
QB? Burrow. Yeah, apart from that, I'm always willing to move down. If I have 109, 110, I'll move down and grab some more picks.
Yeah, if you can move down and still grab it's like a second or third round pick in the draft, in this 2020 draft, do it, because this is so deep. Like, you see all the way to the end, all these players could and should be making impacts year one. So you got a lot of depth in this class. If you can do anything to add more picks, do it.
My piece of advice would probably be, if you need a running back, you got to go early. They kind of drop off to me after Akers and Dobbins, like a significant amount. Those top 4 are kind of separated in their own 2 tiers, but after that, it's kind of a drop off. But then wide receivers, yeah, everywhere, all the way to the mid third, you can get guys that will be able to produce in their first 2 or 3 years in the NFL.
Yeah, I definitely think that's well said. Jared, you've been kind of quiet. If you don't mind me kind of calling you out here, how are you kind of tackling this 2020 draft class, and specifically for like dynasty rookie drafts?
I think my opinion has also been spoken previously by everyone else. I think it's very top heavy as far as you go with running back. But as you can see with mine, I was very content with forfeiting those picks for some wide receivers, just because I really do think Lamb is kind of on a pretty high tier for wide receiver, even though I think Akers is a really good prospect. I think that was kind of my pick going into the draft. But it is very deep in terms of wide receivers, so I could have very well been safe off, seeing as I picked Justin Jefferson in the second round, going with running back there.
All right, thank you very much for that. Does anyone else have any kind of thoughts here on, kind of just in general? All right, that's fine. So thank you so much here for listening, all the listeners, the viewers, no matter where you're watching. I just want to let you guys know that everybody's links, if they plugged anything, will be down there in the description. Remember to comment who you thought had the best mock draft. And I want to thank everyone for getting through this hour. Thank you so much to our guests. If you guys ever want to come back on, if we do another one of these, you all were fantastic. We'd love to have you on again here. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Dylan.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks, man.
That was fun.
You guys
Thanks
can
for
stay.
having me, Dylan.
Thank you.
All right, and have a fantastic rest of your day here, viewers and listeners. Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. Feel free to leave feedback, subscribe, or check out our previous content. And remember, have a fantastic rest of your day.